I wonder what they think now, because
here in Omaha, and he has this city abuzz, I assure you.
Okay, gentlemen, you both receive.
Bring authentic sabor to your table. Somos el Mexicano.
Terence Crawford undefeated in 39 fights.
By the WBC President Mauricio Suleiman, the WBA President Gilberto Jesus Mendoza, the IBF President Darrell Peoples, and the WBO President Francisco Valcarcel. Third man in the ring, a referee in charge of the action, Thomas Taylor. Tentando a Saúl Canelo Alvarez. Once again, a referee in charge, Thomas Taylor, now to give instructions.
See him lay on that left side.
Punching between punches and a flush.
With another look at it right here. Terence following him out. Fundamentally.
Coming out. All that centering on the relationship of training.
Terence Crawford.
The right hand. Change the trajectory on it.
Right hook. Uppercut sends him back. Another left hand and a knockdown score.
Right. Canelo will have to cut off the ring. He takes a left hand and then comes in and shoved around.
The punches.
Free up your hands.
Setting traps for him.
That was the signature punch of that second round.
Round 3. Canelo. What he's trying to stick out there.
A super fight between Saul Canelo Alvarez and Terence, but Crawford sounds like a boxing fan's dream. And right now, that's exactly what it is, just a dream. After 3 days of total chaos, conflicting reports, and secret phone calls behind the scenes, the targeted September 13th showdown at Allegiant Stadium in Las Vegas remains unconfirmed. But if both fighters sign on in the coming weeks, this won't just be one of the biggest fights of 2025. It could be the most delicate mega fight since Mayweather versus Pacquiao. Here's what we know so far, and 5 major concerns fans and insiders are already whispering about. Before we dive in, do me a quick favor. Like this video and hit subscribe. 98% of you watch without subscribing, and it helps a lot. Done? Awesome. Let's get into it. Before Canelo can even think about Terence Crawford and Allegiant Stadium, he's got to survive a very real, very risky challenge. A scheduled May showdown with undefeated IBF super middleweight champion William Skull. On paper, it's being sold as a routine tune-up, part of Canelo's traditional Cinco de Mayo showcase. But behind the scenes, this fight is anything but routine. Skull might not be a household name, but make no mistake, he's no pushover. The Cuban-born German fighter is coming off a grueling win over Vladimir Siskin and holds the very belt Canelo once vacated in pursuit of a more lucrative fight with Edgar Berlanga. Now, Skull is active, confident, and motivated. And when you put a hungry fighter like that in front of a generational star like Canelo, what was meant to be a stay-busy fight turns into a high-risk, high-pressure gamble. And here's the twist. Canelo needs that belt back. Reclaiming the IBF title would restore his undisputed status at 168 pounds, making a Crawford bout even more historic. But boxing doesn't follow scripts. If the Skull fight goes into deep waters, if there's a cut, a hand injury, or even a controversial decision, everything planned for September could be derailed. Canelo isn't getting younger, and at this stage in his career, every tough fight takes a toll that rest alone can't fix. There's also the political side of boxing. Skull is a mandatory challenger, and sanctioning bodies don't like champions ducking obligations. If Canelo struggles or takes damage, negotiations with Crawford could stall, get reshuffled, or collapse entirely. This fight isn't just dangerous, it's a trap lying beneath the entire Superlight plan. One wrong move in May, and a $150 million mega event could vanish overnight. And on the other side, for all of Terence Bud Crawford's brilliance, the surgical precision, the switch hitting, the mental dominance, time is not on his side. Since 2020, Crawford has averaged just 1 fight per year. Whether that's due to boxing politics or his own choices, the inactivity is hard to ignore. Yes, his victories, especially the domination of Errol Spence Jr., have been legendary. But the long gaps between fights have grown louder. At 37, Crawford is older than Canelo, less active, and now venturing into unknown territory. After briefly competing at 154 pounds, he's now aiming to jump all the way to 168. A division where the punches land heavier, the clinches are stronger, and the physical wear is on another level. And this move? It's not just a weight jump. It's a leap of faith. This fight isn't just about weight divisions. It's about defying biology. Jumping an entire weight class is rare. Doing it in your late 30s? That's almost unheard of. Reflexes slow down. Recovery takes longer. Even with a perfect training camp, the body doesn't adapt overnight. And it's not just about adding muscle. It's about re-engineering a body that was built on speed, balance, and explosive timing. At heavier weights, punches don't come faster. They come later, and they land much, much harder. So the big question is this. Will Crawford still be the same counterpunching genius at 168 that he was at 147? Or will the added weight dull his edge? Just enough for Canelo to break through? And then there's the mental side of the equation. Boxing is rhythm. Inactivity doesn't just hurt cardio, it kills timing, awareness, and instinct. Crawford's fight IQ is elite, but instincts fade when they're not sharpened in real time. The truth is, he's walking into the biggest fight of his life after a long layoff, and with no warm-up fight at super middleweight to test the waters. That's not just bold. It's borderline reckless. This isn't a normal step up. It's a historic leap, one that's never been done at this level in the modern era. So the real question isn't whether Bud Crawford is still great. It's whether greatness can survive the wait. Let's pull back the curtain and ask the uncomfortable question. Why now? For years, Canelo Alvarez shrugged off the idea of fighting Crawford. He pointed to the obvious size difference and said, he has everything to gain and nothing to lose. That was just last year. So what changed? 2 words, Turkic Alalshik. The Saudi power broker behind Riyadh's season has turned combat sports upside down with blank check matchmaking. And reportedly, he put $150 million on the table for this fight. That kind of offer is hard to ignore, even for a man like Canelo who's already earned generational wealth. When you're offered more for one night than most champions make in a decade, pride takes a backseat. But this isn't just about money. Quietly, Canelo has been building something bigger. Not just a legacy inside the ring but a future outside of it. He's already begun promoting top talent like Teofimo Lopez and former opponent Jamie Munguia. He's no longer just chasing belts. He's chasing control. A win over Crawford doesn't just silence critics. It boosts his value as a promoter, a brand, and a businessman. This is the Oscar de la Hoya blueprint. Use the final stretch of your fighting career to launch an empire. So while fans see a fight for the ages, the deeper truth might be this. Is this about proving something in the ring, or building something far beyond it? Back when Crawford was king at 147, he looked untouchable, slicing through champions, switching stances mid-fight, and breaking them down mentally and physically. But at 154, things started to shift. He was still dominant, but the margin for error had shrunk. Now, he's being asked to do the unthinkable. Jump from junior middleweight straight to full super middleweight, and face one of the most experienced, battle-hardened fighters of the era. The challenge is massive. The stakes? Even bigger. Crawford knows what he's getting into. Even he's admitted the climb is steep. I walk around heavier than people think, he told Boxing Scene. But as he added, it's different when you've got a fight there. And he's right. Walking around at 170 is one thing. Competing for 12 elite rounds at 168 against a man who's lived in that weight class for over a decade is something else entirely. Crawford's brilliance has always come from subtlety, not brute force. His dominance is built on reflexes, rhythm shifts, and knee-perfect timing. But at 168, the punches don't come faster. They come slower, heavier, and meaner. Strength in the clinch matters. Punch resistance matters. And every weapon in Crawford's toolbox will be put under a new kind of stress test. Can he keep his speed with added weight? Will his movement suffer? Will his stamina survive under the burden of a re-engineered frame? There's a cautionary tale here. Roy Jones Jr. His move to heavyweight made history, but once he dropped back down, his body never fully recovered. The gamble changed him. Forever. Could Crawford, at 37, be about to make the same sacrifice? With zero time to acclimate to 168, he's skipping the lab work and heading straight into the experiment. From elite technician to walking science project, and there's no undo button if this gamble fails. And this fight? It's not just a spectacle. It's a traffic jam. Two entire weight classes, 154 and 168, are now stuck in limbo because of this superlight. Let's start at 154. Crawford was one win away from possibly unifying the division. A fight with WBC and WBO champion Sebastian Fundora was on the table. Then maybe a winter showdown with Borom Murtazaliev. That path could have made Bud the first male fighter in boxing's four-belt era to become undisputed in 3 divisions. But that legacy-defining route is now on ice. And it might never be revisited if the Canelo fight takes up the rest of his 2025. And at 168, things are even messier. Canelo already had a crowded schedule before Crawford entered the picture. David Benavidez, arguably the most avoided man at super middleweight, has been hunting for that fight for years. Rising contenders like Diego Pacheco and Christian Billy are knocking hard, and IBF mandatory William Skull is already booked for May. And it doesn't stop there. Jump up to 175. If Dmitry Bykul beats Art Beterbiev in their February rematch, a historic undisputed light heavyweight clash with Canelo could be next. But only if Canelo gets past Crawford clean. So here's the danger. If anything delays or derails Canelo versus Crawford, an injury, a contract snag, or the unpredictability of boxing itself, 2 divisions and at least 6 top contenders get frozen out. For months. Maybe a year. It's the classic boxing paradox. To make one legendary moment, you might have to pause the rest of the sport. And here's where business and boxing collide head-on. Insiders say that when talks of Canelo versus Crawford first began, Team Alvarez floated a $150 million price tag. Not as an opening bid, but as a deterrent. A polite way of saying, this fight isn't happening. The money? It was supposed to be a bluff. A financial escape hatch. After all, Canelo didn't make that much for Golovkin, Plant, or even Bykul. Why would he risk everything against a smaller, faster opponent who could embarrass him even in victory? But then, Turkic Alalshik entered the room. The mastermind of Saudi Arabia's combat sports revolution didn't blink. He didn't negotiate. He matched the $150 million offer instantly. The fantasy fight became real overnight. What was once a bluff became a business model. And suddenly, the rules of matchmaking were rewritten by oil-backed funding and unchecked ambition. So, is this legacy manipulation? A damned if you do, damned if you don't scenario designed to box Canelo in? Or is it genius-level chess, using the sport's biggest payday to set the terms? One thing is certain, Canelo's about to get paid like it's peak Mayweather season. And boxing? It may never operate the same way again. As anticipation builds, so do the warnings, especially from those who've been there. Timothy Bradley, former 2-division world champion and now a respected analyst, offered one of the most chilling takes yet. He's not going to back down, Bradley said of Bud Crawford. And that's what scares me. Because that dude in the other corner, Canelo Alvarez, is naturally strong, relentlessly experienced, and dangerously comfortable at a weight Crawford has never touched. Canelo Alvarez has lived at 168 for years. This isn't just about skill anymore, it's about survival. Crawford's brilliance lies in his adaptability, his ability to adjust mid-fight, read opponents, and execute with surgical precision. But let's not forget, Bud's a dog. When challenged, he engages. He bites down and fires back. And that instinct, that pride, it could be his undoing. Because Canelo doesn't throw punches, he throws bricks wrapped in leather, especially to the body. And he's mastered the art of cutting off the ring. If Crawford tries to trade in the pocket, if he gets lured into a fight with a natural super middleweight who's knocked out light heavyweights before, it could be lights out, early. One moment of pride, one miscalculation, and Bud might never find his rhythm. So the real question is, can Crawford stay disciplined? Or will the heat of battle drag him into a shootout with the bull? And here's when you know the fight is real, when even the legends can't agree. Mike Tyson says, Canelo's too strong. Crawford's great, but size matters in boxing. Shakur Stevenson, Bud's too smart. He'd figure Canelo out late. Teddy Atlas, this could end like Kell Brook versus Golovkin. Andre Ward, Crawford's movement and IQ could give Canelo nightmares. Roy Jones Jr., Canelo's pressure and power will eventually break him down. It's rare, very rare, to see icons this divided. Different generations, different weight classes, no consensus. And that's what makes this so combustible. It's not just a fight. It's a collision of styles, eras, narratives, and legacies. One punch could decide it. One round could flip the script. Now, let's be real. We're still 7 months out. And boxing history teaches us to stay cautious. A bad cut in training. A contract dispute. A change of heart. We've seen bigger fights fall apart for smaller reasons. Just ask Deontay Wilder and Anthony Joshua. 2018. But if this holds together, if both men make it to the ring, if May's tune-ups don't derail the machine, then what we're looking at isn't just the biggest fight of 2025. It's the biggest real fight since Mayweather versus Pacquiao. No exhibitions. No YouTubers. No gimmicks. Just two all-time greats meeting at the very edge of their physical and mental limits. It's greatness chasing greatness. And it doesn't come around often. So now it's your turn. Who really wins this fight, and how? Bullseye, was Canelo ducking or playing high-stakes chess? Scales, does Crawford's body betray him at 168? Or does he rewrite history? Drop your predictions below and circle September 13th. Because if this thing lands, history isn't just being made, it's being rewritten. If you enjoyed this breakdown, hit the like button to support the channel and subscribe to Boxing is Here for the latest fight updates, in-depth analysis, and behind-the-scenes drama. And turn on those notifications so you never miss an upload.